And a good morning on a Sunday morning. Good welcome, good welcome, good welcome. It's the Sunday show you look forward to. It is the Speaker's Corner, yeah. The Speaker's Corner, yeah. Did you just take your earphones off, Thom, so that you couldn't hear me? Thom seriously just took his earphones off. Okay, I was just commenting that you had taken your earphones off, Thom.
You already lost one viewer, Jeff.
We are -1. Here's to the hole. May we toast the hole and dig our way out of it.
I'm just amazed that you can go from like a Texas auctioneer to jazzy 1920s Harlem.
Was that Harlem? I was kind of thinking a little bit more New Orleans, but you know, it's whatever. It is whatever. So another good, happy morning to you. As always, we are a little late to get started, and we have acquired many awesome things to be here and talk about. Let me introduce cast characters that will be talking about them. You've seen them a little bit. You've seen them briefly. Let's make them a little bit more promulgated. Start with Frank Heathington out of Johns Creek, Georgia. Say hi, Frank.
Hello, everybody. I'm the Encyclopedia of Walt Disney's animated characters.
And under that definition, let's go to the next one. Michelle, in the southernmost section of this podcast, down in Gainesville, Florida. Say good morning, Michelle.
Good morning, Jeff. Good morning, everybody out there.
Excellent. And we'll go on to the last, which is... Did I say last?
You said last,
we'll go on
you meant...
Least.
Best.
The least. Mr. Thom Home. Good morning, Thom.
Good morning. I am brought to you through Minecraft today. That's why I look like a series of blocks. I'm actually
No, your picture looks good to
rendering.
me.
Does it really?
Yeah,
it looks like Minecraft on my end.
Okay. Minecraft. All right. Well, and I'm Jeff Wheeler, also at Johns Creek, Georgia. But this is the last time I will be broadcasting from Johns Creek, Georgia.
Why is that, Jeff?
On my regular podcast.
You're giving up the podcast?
I will be in a new studio, probably starting next week. Which will likely be in a bit more of the town center of the heartthrob that we know as Atlanta.
Atlanta!
I will be heading where the old bricks exist and we don't have brand new stick-built houses. So
Is Andre 3000 going to be your neighbor?
Andre 3000 is everyone's neighbor.
I
will lend him some sugar.
That's the only Atlanta person I know.
Are you going to live on Peach Street?
I am about a block and a half from Peachtree. As are all things in downtown Atlanta. And if you ever are curious, all roads in Atlanta lead to Buckhead. If you stay on every road long enough, you will end up in Buckhead.
Really?
It's kind of ironic.
Don't you think?
So on to the topics. Should we start with a topic?
Well,
no.
You know what? Actually, things that piss me... This week, it seems like the world has gotten very angry. And I know that we usually have at the end of the show things that piss Thom off. But this week, I think that we've gotten things that piss everyone off, possibly. And you bring up this isn't it ironic? That actually is one of the things that pisses me off. People that use that word incorrectly. For me...
Using song lyrics incorrectly or using the word ironic incorrectly?
No, that song is just about shitty luck. It's not about irony.
I thought there was like one piece of irony in the entire song. Or was there none?
I think the irony might be that it's a song implicitly about irony that actually contains no irony.
There's the irony. Isn't it ironic that you fools believe that this is all ironic?
Alanis Morissette was trolling us all.
Yes.
And with a great sense of irony, she wrote a song that contained no irony just to see us all lose our shit.
She was so hipster that she redefined irony.
She was into You Can't Do That on Television before any of us were.
What? Was she on it? You Can't Do That on Television?
Because she was
She
on
was! It. Yes.
That's so ironic.
I don't know.
Irony.
Are you
is somebody Googling irony right now?
Well, for all
Hold
of
on
our
while I rub this out of my eye.
English chat, we do have some people that are looking to learn the English language. Irony is a noun, and it is meant for a situation that seems strange or funny because things happen in a way that seems to be the opposite of what you expected.
Irony.
I think that's a terrible definition because that allows Alanis Morissette to be correct.
For me, irony would be there's a thief who stole a calendar and he got 12 months. That's irony.
Isn't that a pun?
Yeah, isn't that like
It's
the setup
a little
for a
bit
joke?
of both. It's a little bit of both.
So back to our segment.
Yes.
Yes.
Wait, there's a segment?
The things that piss Michelle off. Go.
Yes, go.
I did. People using ironic and just mishandling the English language pisses me off.
Mishandling the English language. All right, then I'm going to follow with my thing that pisses Jeff off. People feeling like they understand the English language better than someone else and therefore are able to judge the value of another human based on their selection of poetic terms.
I think you're valuable, Jeff. Just not in writing an essay.
We've got all these grammar Nazis saying, oh, well, the English language is only supposed to do this, and it's only supposed to do that, and it's only supposed to do these. Yeah, okay, well, that's the proper way to do it. But nobody drives properly, so why do we expect them to speak properly?
What happens when everyone doesn't drive properly?
Well, as long as you stay within the main rules, nobody dies. But
Who's to decide what the main rules are?
Currently,
I think
it's the law.
In my opinion, driving within the lane, that's a useless law. So I'm allowed to drive between lanes, like literally with a stripe going down underneath my car.
It's easier with a stripe right in the middle. You can judge exactly where you are.
You can aim better. Yeah, it's like following a path. It's like when you're cutting a board, you always have the line in the center of where your cut is, right?
Right.
But I believe who's to say that is I believe it's because we would all die if.
Have you guys ever driven in Miami? Because they'll have 2 lanes and 3 cars will be wide in those 2 lanes.
I don't drive in Miami. I don't go to Miami.
Good choice. Good,
right?
Double good choice.
Yeah. Any case, that's
just because everyone's doing it doesn't mean it's right, Jeff.
Fair enough.
Yeah, speaking of everyone doing it, Frank, did you have something that you experienced that pissed you off?
Yeah, you know what pisses me off? Is this no-talent ass clown called Iggy Azalea. You know what? Iggy Azalea has over 70 million views. And you know what pisses me off? Over 70 million people can't name the 3 people that were on the moon landing. Michael Collins, Buzz Aldrin, and Neil Armstrong. Can I just give a what? Hell yeah!
The moon landing.
No.
It didn't happen.
Okay.
No, it was staged in Arizona.
Yeah.
So you know what? F you, Iggy Azalea.
Michelle, did you hear that? It's the black helicopters. They're circling overhead. Put on your foil hat.
Yeah, seriously. What is this Iggy Azalea thing?
I'd just like to say something. At the start of this show, usually right before we start, we go through a list of things that we're going to talk about.
Right.
And I love it when Frank just goes way off script.
Wait,
so
were
go
any
ahead.
of us on script?
So far, yeah, we've been doing pretty good.
Okay.
We had a script.
Oh. Catch it in the show notes. All right, go ahead, Frank. Sorry. Iggy Azalea.
No, I just think she's a no-talent ass clown.
Oh, it's a she.
Yes.
Yeah.
From Australia. She's a hip-hop artist. She's basically... I have some friends who have called out and said she's doing minstrelsy because she's affecting this kind of very black persona in her song delivery and have said, this is like minstrelsy, some woman from the Outback who is doing a African-American styling that seems less homage, or it feels like it crosses from homage and style to almost kind of minstrelsy. That's a strong reaction from some people I know.
Is she Aboriginal?
Oh
No.
no, she's lily white.
Yeah,
Oh.
she looks.
Okay.
She looks exactly like she was in Grease. What was that girl's name?
Oh.
In Grease.
Olivia Newton-John.
Yeah, Olivia Newton-John. She kind of looks like Olivia Newton-John.
Interesting. Okay.
Sorry about that. I didn't mean to steer the ship off course.
No, be angry. Be angry.
Angry.
Give in to your hate.
Yeah, seriously.
Do you?
I feel like the
black
Ghostbusters.
people? Are there black people like we know them in the United States and in Australia? Or do they have a different counterculture?
Oh.
It's the side culture.
hurts
Like
my-
whenever I was in Africa, the black culture was a different style than what we see in. Okay, apparently I've hurt people's feelings because everyone's rubbing their eyes. Okay, we're gonna edit out the last 3 minutes of Jeff's comments.
We need to be able to quickly there needs to be a switch that you can flip. That's like we're experiencing technical difficulties. We'll be back.
All right. So, if the question was, is there a black culture in Australia similar to
is
the
there
one?
a difference in black culture in Australia versus the one that we see here in the United States? Does anyone have an appropriate answer to that, or should I
I
just
do not
bury
have an
myself?
appropriate answer. No, that is it. That is, I think, is an appropriate question, but I don't have an appropriate answer.
Like anything, any culture is based on history.
Yes.
Within that nation state. So I think it's easy enough to say any and all cultures, subcultures in Australia are based on the history and experience of the people of that country. So I don't think it's going out on a limb to say, yeah,
It's different.
people
They're
probably
really-
have different ways of being because they're in Australia.
Yeah.
And toilets flush the opposite way.
The
therefore-
Austrian culture is very much different from the Australian culture. Because
But they're so similar in spelling.
But those
Well-
few letters change their experiences.
So
They-
crazy. So
I give
crazy.
up.
Whoa, did you even start? How can you give up if you haven't even
Yeah.
started?
Get on it. Get on it. Get on it. Get up. Get up.
Why are you giving up? I was giving a very
Yeah, you were
Appropriate
getting.
answer.
Yeah, but I was not going to give an appropriate, honest answer. I was actually going to reference the fact that the Australians are a bunch of people from jails and prisoners. And,
Oh, yeah.
not
ex-cons.
all of them. Not all of them.
Not now, but at one point.
Understood.
They were the jail keepers and the jailees.
Right. So,
So how did they get so many beautiful people down there?
Wait. Are we talking about Crocodile Dundee, or who are we talking about? Ooh, I just aged myself, didn't I?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Just slightly.
Fuck.
Hey,
For those-
you did it twice.
for-
We need,
for our-
there's a problem.
For our young viewers, that would be Paul Hogan, who is no relation to Terry Hogan,
Or
who
Hulk.
was Hulk Hogan. Well, Terry Hogan is Hulk
Oh.
Hogan.
Right.
Okay, so on to
Yeah.
things that pissed Tom, since you're the only one who hasn't gone.
I feel like this started because I came into this morning show in a very dark space.
Oh.
Because I look around, everyone is angry everywhere. And I feel like this week it started with the quote unquote border crisis and the immigration debate that's quasi coming out of it, but it still doesn't seem like happen. And the kind of vitriol being spit by people regarding this. And then that moved on to the events currently still unfolding in Gaza, where we've gone from an air war to a land war in Gaza and the civilian casualties, and seeing the
When you
arguments.
say we, is that the United States or is that the world powers? Is that the United States?
When did I say
specifically?
we?
Oh, okay.
You just did.
I did say we. I'm trying to remember what context I said we. I was like, when
Yeah,
did I
you
say
said we've gone into a ground war in Gaza.
Oh, excuse me. I apologize. That was a slip of the tongue. The Israeli government,
Ah, okay.
the Israeli army has moved on.
I had heard
from
about
air-
that, yes.
From an air campaign to a land, and I have friends on either side of this debate. You know, I have I actually have a high school/college friend who lives in Israel now, and obviously has her vantage point. I have friends who live in Lebanon and the larger Levant who have their opinions on this, and the anger and vitriol on their sides. And then we move to this plane over Ukraine, and I don't know. I'm looking for some. I don't know what I'm looking for, but I came into this morning just the transference of people's anger is starting to stain me and stick to me, and so that in turn is kind of pissing me off, I guess, is that I feel like I'm surrounded by so much anger right now.
Geopolitical anger that is being exemplified in the killing of humans.
Yes.
For no good, understandable.
Well,
no killings.
And I'm not going to put a positive or negative spin on it. I'm just going to say that there's hurt, hate, and vitriol that's made people die, which is not ideal.
No. And more people will die before
it's done.
Right.
Yep. That is a dark place, Thom.
Yes.
And we'll join you in that dark place for the half of this show, at least.
So what do you mean by kids border crossing? I guess I missed that story.
Oh, the immigration crisis and since October of last year, the 40,000 plus unaccompanied minors. That's the unaccompanied minors who have mostly from Central America, who have crossed the border into the U.S. and are being detained right now. And so there's a question of, by law under a law passed in the Bush presidency, they can't be deported immediately. Unlike Mexican, people who cross the border who are Mexican nationals can be immediately deported back. But from Central America, they have to go through a deportation process hearing. Mostly to make sure that they aren't fleeing violence, if they aren't as opposed to economic refugees, they're refugees from civil issues. I believe that's why. So the argument is we're now kind of, one side is saying that this is by not deporting them immediately, we are in fact encouraging more unaccompanied minors to make the same move north.
Okay, Thom, I have a question for you. If I am an illegal immigrant from Costa Rica, can I be deported back to Costa Rica?
Not without a hearing.
Yep.
What about El Salvador?
Not without a hearing.
What about Guatemala?
What?
Not without a hearing. This is all but, with the exception of Mexico, or excuse me, any country that does not immediately border the U.S. So obviously, if an illegal migration came from Canada, they could be repatriated.
Right.
Countries that do not immediately border the U.S., there has to be
do not share a land
process.
border with the United States. Got it.
Correct.
We need more states that have a land border with the United States. What about the 6 states of California?
That pisses me off. That's more. I hate that. Jeff is referring to the gentleman who has successfully got a ballot initiative on the next California election to propose the idea of breaking, or is it going to be in the primary? I don't know when they roll it out. To basically break the state of California into the mega state of California into 6 states.
Why does that piss you off?
Because I look at how the lines are drawn, and I'm like, we're going to draw a line here, we're going to draw a line here, and we're going to draw a line here. I'm like, that's interesting. So San Francisco can cut off I look at it and I read, rich people want to create an island here, and
gerrymandering, kind of?
Well, it's a little bit of gerrymandering, but it's mostly getting the farmers out of the, like the LA district, getting those out of the Silicon Valley kind of money district for all of that. Northern California to get all of the vineyards kind of separate, and then you get all the people who like trees and such up in Jefferson, up in that top area to be out of it.
Well,
like trees.
The problem with California is their state constitution is so screwed up in order to pass anything that's meaningful. So that's why they never really seem to get anything done in their legislature. So I think one of the big initiatives on splitting the state of California into 6 separate states, first of all, to be even put into a state, you have to go through all of these different processes by the federal government to even make that happen. So this is essentially just a proposal to basically put this on the national, or not the national, but on the state level of saying, hey, can we go ahead and do this? And then it has to get ratified by the Congress.
Think about what our global, or what our national landscape would look like if California was suddenly 6 separate states. The northernmost state would be basically equivalent in value and power to Oregon and Washington. You know, then you've got Silicon Valley itself, which would probably be similar to Massachusetts, with all of its research institutes and all of its power and influence there. Then you've kind of got a great farm state of Central California, where it would do all kinds of influence, like Iowa and Indiana and all those places that have all the farm subsidies.
We don't live in the districts from the Hunger Games. We don't, like, every little district doesn't do its own thing. We live in a group with, like, I want farmers to have input on this swath of land because, yeah, it's their swath of land too, and that IMHO.
Right. Well, the thing is that right now California has so many discrepant areas, right? And it's so different from what the state structure is in the Northeast that if you make it a little more similar to the state structure of the Northeast, it's a little more apropos to the way that our Constitution was designed to justify states, right? And the
Meaning?
South, that they're smaller groups of more similar individuals. And as the states went out west, they just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So therefore you got non-similar individuals and non-similar geographic regions that were grouped together more often out west. And California is a good example of probably 6 or 7 discrepant geographic areas.
I don't know. North Carolina seems to be also a possible discrepant area. I don't know if it's. I don't know if I'd base it on geography.
Here's California. Yes, does it have some issues? Absolutely, no denying it. I don't know if this fixes the problem, or rather creates a whole host of new ones. When you start to break off and wall off people by much like I love your thank you for reaching out to that Hunger Games analogy because that's fitting. When you break people off by industry or who's watching Superman? Is that you, Frank? What are you watching?
No, that's the Anthem of Pan Am from Hunger Games.
Oh, okay. I thought you were watching Superman, and this was some kind of like reference to Lex Luthor's attempt to break off the coast of California. I can make movie references too.
Nice.
Inappropriate movie references nonetheless, yes.
Yeah. You cease to have people who have to work together from, creating a community of various industries that have to work towards the common good. If you start to just that's why I think that's mostly it's like that whole Silicon Valley as a state. No, screw you. Sorry, there's going to be no state of Apple.
Yeah, but there's so much power and influence there that can you imagine if they didn't have to have rules the way the rest of California did? And didn't have to have and then you could have the heavy tax burden to do all of that. Then you're able to do one of those, okay, well, they want to have an entire statewide rail system that goes over the entire state of Silicon Valley. And then you've got public transit, and they ban all cars that aren't...
And then everywhere that's not Silicon Valley becomes wasteland, and nobody wants to live there. And if you don't bring up everybody together, no, oh come on's not a good response. What do you mean?
That's the equivalent of in debate going, yeah, well, your mom.
Look, I've been watching Fox News, and they go, oh, come on, all the time. They do it all the time.
If it's on Fox.
Yeah, it's on Fox. So you take the Silicon Valley concept and make all of that, and my concept really would be not that you are holding down the other areas by taking all the resources and putting them into one state, but rather you're letting the Silicon Valley of the world that has the resources not have to pull everybody else up at the same time. So they're able to be more agile, and to be more agile, which is the reason that we have a federal government, which is the reason that we have different states, is so that those different states don't have to bring up the entire country like France and those types of things. Back in the day, when you did one thing that was a rule for the entire country, you had to bring the whole country up to that. So the United States, when we were being formed, they said, okay, how can we be more nimble and more agile and be able to provide for the needs of a rural community and the needs of an industrial community very discrepantly? Okay, well, let's come up with these states that are inside of one nation, right? And so I think that the same concept is trying to apply here in California. And if you're able to let Silicon Valley be more nimble with technology needs, right, then those folks out in Central California that are mostly farmers and people that live out in the very eastern section of California are not beholden to that same standard of how to do things.
Let me introduce you to something we haven't. You're going to have a huge water war if you do this.
Yes.
Because suddenly you go from one state of California having to negotiate water use with the state of Nevada and the state of not Arizona, Nevada. Suck on my geography.
Utah,
Idaho, Utah. Now you're going to suddenly have. Now you're going to have a fight between 6 states of California and the rest of the states over water use. You're going to have a situation like you have with the Nile, and the Sudan wanting to dam more of the tributaries to the Nile, which is preventing more water from flowing up to Egypt, and you're going to have a
no, but hold on. We know where this is going to go, though, because Silicon Valley has all the money. It's going to be the ones that have all the money are going to get the priority for the water, and again, it's going to be this.
But the water doesn't flow to them, so suddenly it could be, you're going to have Central California saying, you know what, fuck you.
Oh, we're going to stop it right here.
So but Silicon Valley is the kind of place when they don't have to produce water for the entire state, and all they have to do is for themselves, they'll create desalination. Because they're right on the ocean.
What kind of utopian world are you living in, Jeff?
It's possible. It's possible.
Right here. They do it in Qatar. They do it in Qatar.
And do you know how much it costs for desalination?
Right. Do you know how much your iPhone is going to be worth? Your next iPhone is going to be $1,000, and $200 of those dollars is just to desalinate the water for them to make Starbucks coffee for free. That's how much it's going to be.
Oh, Jeff, you should write a book.
A frightening.
I'm just against the idea of the state of Silicon Valley.
I disagree. I'm completely for the concept of Silicon Valley.
Not the concept, the name. I just don't like the name.
Yeah, they called it like South California, West California, Central California, Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Make it something a little bit different, right? You call Central California, you call that the San Joaquin, right? You call Southern California Northern Mexico, right? You call Western California the Land of Angels. Yeah, good thing you just muted, Michelle, because your cackling was very loud. You should probably turn down your mic a little bit when you come back. But I don't know what you'd call well, I guess you call Northern California the Land of Wine. You could just call that Wine Central, Wino.
No, that's Sonoma. That's the one just north of is the wine country. Northern, I guess that would be
Northern California is just north of Silicon Valley, and I think that's all the wine country.
Well, what's the one above Northern California then?
Is Jefferson.
Jefferson.
Which I'm okay with calling it Jefferson. That doesn't bother me.
I thought that we're going to call that Reefer Madness.
Reefer Madness. Now that's a gem right there. You just call this the land of smoke and honey.
Right? Land of smoke and munchies.
Smoke and munchies. Yes, that's right. Cheech and Chong land.
That's the light.
Now, I'd love to say
there is a light in the darkness.
That's right.
Yeah. I was going to say that we'd come off the rails this morning, but I'm not actually sure we ever were on the rails. I think this train was doing its own thing. It wasn't staying within the lanes. It was just...
You know, I'm very interested to know what people were going to say on the what would a war look like with Russia. Right? Because I'm looking at it and going, they've got these separatists that are dealing and doing everything that they can. From what I heard this morning on NPR, they were thinking that airplane was Vladimir Putin's airplane, and that's why they shot it down.
That's propaganda put out by Russian tabloids being picked up by other East Europe. I was just reading about it from a friend who writes for an English language Balkan publication that was talking about that. Yeah, it's the same thing along the lines with the Ukrainian rebel commander who basically is now kind of implying that they were all dead already. That was a plane full of corpses.
What?
Oh yeah, no, he said that. He's it's black helicopters, conspiracy theory. This is all done to, it's one step away from people saying Obama orchestrated this to take the heat off of, the border crisis.
Wow.
No. They done effed up. This was the case because one of the things they've got is they've intercepted communications from the rebels to the Russians saying, and initially actually the rebel commander tweeted that, taking claim of victory for shooting down a military plane, a military passenger plane, which was subsequently the tweet was deleted. They thought they were shooting down a commercial plane. This is the problem when you give weapons, when you heavily arm insurgent groups.
Right. And who is it that
bad things are going to happen?
Who is it that supplied them with these weapons? Who is it that's been
the Russians
backing them?
The Russians, of course.
Oh, the Russians are backing insurgents in Ukraine. Got it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got it.
This is not a new story. This Russians backing under insurgent in insert country.
It's not not even a new story for us. We do the same damn thing. This is where if you're going to arm people, don't give them top tier. First off, question, there's obviously the larger question of should you be arming insurgents at all? But
didn't we learn from 9/11?
Right.
Well, that wasn't arming insurgents.
It wasn't?
Completely different.
They used box cutters. I mean, what it was.
They used shoe bombs and box cutters. That was it. Yeah. Got it.
I mean, if you want to go to the larger point of the rise of the Taliban is a result of the civil war from having armed Afghan insurgents during the Afghan war, but then walking away. Where it really became a problem was suddenly we landed in, during the early months of the Afghan war, we assumed this was going to be an easy operation, and suddenly we were like, oh shit, they don't just have assault rifles, they have rocket-propelled grenades and surface-to-air missiles. They've got all this stuff from the 80s that we gave them, and that still function. Oh, yeah. Didn't think about that.
Oh shit.
Yep.
Yeah, to your point, exactly. We got you. It's not even right now that we got to worry about. They may use it later.
Do we think that there's gonna be? And I guess this one's specifically to Thom or Frank. Do you guys know would you expect to see some sort of overt action in Russia?
No.
More so than what we've already seen.
No. This is going to be political pressure, maybe economic pressure. Because you also have the Germans are being very moderate in their response because of Germany's economic ties to Russia. They can't afford to go full hog in the reaction. So they're doing a measured response. It all comes down to dollars and
pipelines, gas pipelines.
Yeah. So
Gazprom really makes a big influence on how all this works.
Winter is coming.
Yep. The Germans have needed the Russian
literally
oil reserves for pretty much all of their existence, haven't they?
Yeah.
All their industrial existence.
All they've got is, they've got the huge coal. They've got a huge amount of coal, but they currently operate in a very carbon neutral or attempting to be carbon neutral economy. So they're not going to be tapping that anytime soon. They've been pulling up their nuclear power stakes over the last 10 so years. So, yeah. I don't.
Which is the way that France tried to get off of the Russian oil and gas pipelines.
I think I hate to say this. I hate to say something so violent and awful, but I feel like you're more likely to see the U.S. get engaged in military conflict with the Republic of China than you are with with Russia.
Wow. Well, that's good to hear because I would be afraid to see what an actual all-out military conflict with Russia would look like.
Who would take sides with Russia?
Who do they need? They don't need anybody, but maybe China would.
Yeah, that's it.
China would probably play neutral.
Neutral.
Well, but what happens?
Which is kind of siding. It is taking a side. Neutrality is not.
Correct. Right.
Neutrality.
So what? Say for a moment that the United States gets into some sort of conflict with China. Would that not drag Russia into it? Would they not just side with China?
No, they might
then therefore give them lots of weapons and these kinds of things.
They might sell stuff, but they wouldn't necessarily get involved. They would probably be they would probably play the role of the U.S. in from 1939 to 41, where the U.S. was neutral but doing lend-lease programs with the U.K., basically sending arms and ships to help the United Kingdom, to being an active neutral party, so to speak.
Right.
I think you see that with Russia, because the problem is Russia and China have land disputes. If you look at the border of Russia and China, there's all these squiggle marks where it's like, this is what Russia considers the border, this is what China considers the border.
Yeah. And it just feels so discrepant between those two groups of people. What I think of as Chinese and what I think... Okay, Thom is unplugged. But what I think of as Chinese and what I think of as Russian just seems so discrepant.
How so?
Just the concept of how they live and the concept, of course, a little bit of what they look like, highly what they speak in language, and just how I think that they deal with business relations and these kinds of things, right? It just feels very different to be Chinese than it does to be Russian. If I was to go into a business meeting and I was to meet a Chinese person, then I would think of it one way. And that's all prejudices and, assumptions, but that's just kind of where I come from to start.
I think that both Russia and these are assumptions made by me. I think that both Russia and China would be more apt to having under the table deals. I think that is more pervasive. I think they do have a nationalism that other countries may not share.
Well, both countries have strong nationalism, don't they? China is highly nationalistic, and Russia historically has been highly nationalistic. Thom,
no, Thom, can't hear you.
I think the Chinese cuisine's better.
I don't know any Russian cuisine. I have not been to a Russian restaurant that I can recall in any manner. Now I got some taps. Is that Thom?
Yeah, that's you,
Thom's
Thom.
back.
All right.
Thom agrees with me. Chinese food is better than Russian food.
Oh,
Chicken,
yeah,
the Chinese chicken. Have a drumstick with your brain starts sticking. Watching X-Files with the lights on.
Question for the panel. I don't have a random country of the week, but I have a random thing that happened that scientists discovered this week, and I would like to get the panel's one-word definition of what you see when you see this screen. Ready? There you go. Tell me what you see there.
Black.
It's a hole.
A hole in the ground.
There's a hole in the bottom of the sea.
That's the scientific name of it. A hole in the ground.
Sinkhole.
So apparently this is called a pingo. Lots of conspiracy theorists thought this was the Sarlacc from Star Wars. Could have been a bunker from some kind of UFO that shot out of it right after maybe some kind of mineral extraction of gold from the UFO. And apparently it's a pingo. And groundwater basically goes into the top of it and busts it. So basically an underground glacier that it kind of explodes.
It's like a pimple in the earth.
Yep,
There
and
it
it
is.
pops.
A
I like
pimple
it.
in the earth. Brought to you by Vladimir Putin.
The Russians have so many neat things.
That's why we should invade them and take.
We
them.
should take over Russia. I think it'd be a very easy group of lands to hold.
A land war in Russia. What could go wrong?
What could go wrong? But they have so much oil, we just drive and pick it up on the way. It'd be like those video games where you drive by, pick up the gas can, and keep going.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Because as we all know, war is just like video games.
It is. It is.
Oh man, I really do have something that pisses me off though. Actually, something that should piss me off. This is Michelle will appreciate this. This is from the land of video games, and I'm not sure if I can continue playing this video game because it's starting to really annoy me. Steam was having a sale, and whenever they have sales, sometimes I check out and buy titles for cheap. And so I bought the last Tomb Raider game for $4.99.
Oh.
Do you know
And
this
you
title?
feel like you did not get a good deal on that.
Lara Croft.
No. I feel like I remember that there was some controversy with this game, but I couldn't really remember it until I started playing it. And it's a prequel. It's basically Lara Croft at like 19, and she's shipwrecked on island.
Nice.
For those of you who don't know, Lara Croft, the Tomb Raider series, was a video game series from third-person perspective where you controlled the female protagonist, and it was a really nice kind of platforming game where it's a lot of like puzzle solving and climbing and figuring
Let's
out how to
talk
get
about
from
her
point A to point
shorts
B.
for a minute. Let's talk
And
about
she
her
wore
shorts.
shorts and tank top and
Short cargo shorts and a gun strapped to her leg.
cosplay.
both hot.
I believe she really truly gave birth to cosplay.
No, it's what's her name from The Fifth Element with those straps across?
Oh yeah,
That,
Lilo.
Lilo gave birth to cosplay in her own little way.
So
Okay, so what are you gonna say?
this game, it already obviously there's kind of a very heightened sexual aesthetic to the game. I mean, to be honest, the early games were just a lot of fun because it was kind of there's more puzzle and strategy, and it was good fun. This game has some of that puzzle element. It has a little bit of like survival horror too, which is kind of I've actually had a few moments of being scared. Where my problem comes in is the death scenes of Croft, which you will die many times. And obviously in the previous games, you would die and you would fall off a cliff, kind of crumple at the end, or get shot and fall and die. This one it's borderline snuff of like her getting slowly stabbed and kind of expiring, or the wolf grabbing her and her neck cracking and her head. It is misogynistic snuff porn. It is really, and it's starting to get to me, especially if I have to like watch her die 5 or 6 times in a row because I can't beat
Oh man.
this quick time event, but I have to keep watching her slowly die over and over again. It's really it is something that should piss me off because I feel it's completely unnecessary and I can't seem to be able to skip. I have to watch every time.
Yeah.
Slowly dying. Is Michelle putting up death sequences?
Yeah, I think I'm putting up some sort of death sequences of Lara Croft of some sort where
it looks like she's getting stabbed
she's getting stabbed and it's pretty gruesome.
It is, yeah.
Is that the idea? Is that it's supposed to be gruesome?
Not in past games. I mean, past games, she obviously will fall to her death, and you see her fall, but not to this kind of really heightened.
Wait a second. Does Lara Croft have boobs?
Oh, come on.
No, I thought that, what's her name? The actress that plays her doesn't have boobs.
Angelina Jolie?
Yeah, she's got a double mastectomy.
Oh god.
Once again,
I don't know what to do.
we're experiencing technical difficulties.
I thought I was supposed to have lightness. Where's the light? People are supposed to provide me with the light.
Okay, so here's the. Would you believe in a slider bar in your video games that say how much grotesqueness do you want to have?
Yes,
Right?
there actually is in there.
And you can slider bar it all the way to
This exists.
to G, right? To where you just kind of get a little cartoony, and sad trumpet plays and it's over, right? When you die, when you quote unquote die, then you put it all the way up to I like to watch B on 4chan, right? And you get every bit of the gore and glore and whatnot.
Yeah, this exists. It exists.
In what game?
Oh god.
Is that a game? Oh God.
Yeah, ha, ha. I don't remember what game, but it does exist.
Is it a good idea?
Yeah, absolutely.
Tom?
If I don't...
Does it exist? Is that what your question?
No. Is it a good idea?
I mean, I wouldn't like it to be mandatory, but obviously I would love to see more programmers give you that option, because I would like to play I want to keep playing this game because I enjoy the puzzle solving element.
Right.
But seeing this over, it's just what's frustrating. It's like I can't watch this a sixth time.
Right. Then you're not going to want to keep there pounding your face against the same game element over and over and over. And maybe that's just the programmer trying to give you a detriment to keeping on doing the same thing.
The real reason why this, I think, really pisses me off is this didn't exist in previous games. This feels like such a departure from what this... That's why I'm so glad I only spent $5 on this, because as a fan of the previous games, I would have been really pissed off if I'd paid full market price for something that I don't feel like is a Tomb Raider game. I feel like it's Resident Evil,
right,
that just happens to have Lara Croft as the protagonist.
Right.
If you had sold me a Resident Evil game and this is what was going on, fine. I knew what I was getting into. But for this to kind of have the name Tomb Raider and be this feels disingenuous. Michelle has a really puzzled look on her face. She's ready to let go.
I'm trying to figure out if I'm in agreement or not with it. I've heard
you don't have to be. This is
I've heard good things about that title in particular, and that she is more of an action, like she's out doing things and not just a pretty figure. So I'm hesitant to beat on it too much. At the same time, it's Lara Croft, and it has always been one of the. Does she have boobs? Yes. At least in the video game version, yes.
Very certainly.
Very, very much so. So I don't know. I like having women protagonists.
Mm-hmm. But I don't you want to have a women protagonist that's not just there to be a sex symbol?
Hell yeah, I want to have women protagonists that's not just there to be a sex symbol. But
hello, Metroid dude.
Yes. But nobody knew it was a girl.
Until the end, yeah.
Yep.
Well, I think we're getting in that direction. I think it's right to hold the feet to the fire for Lara Croft, and I think that they have the ability to do even more, faster, quicker, and better, and they're not. And I agree with Thom in that sense. But we're getting somewhere. Maybe.
All right, so I will move on to the next topic, and the lightness that I will bring you as our piece of light is that the original video on YouTube of the Rickroll is now no longer on YouTube.
What?
The URL for the original Rickroll is gone.
Whoa.
YouTube has taken it down. 70 million views after it was first uploaded.
Seriously?
70 million views, and it was taken down.
Why?
It was takedown?
There's a takedown.
No news of who, why, how?
No news yet. This was released yesterday at like 8 p.m. or something, that it was taken down. And so that is your moment of joy, that no one can Rickroll you with that exact same URL anymore.
That's legit.
Right?
That is a silver line.
I think that's Google's way of saying, okay, all of those old Rickroll tricks you've used to use, you're going to have to recode them if you want them to still work. You'll just have to put in a new URL for Rickroll, right? Yeah. Because a lot of them were using the same permalink, right?
They just Rickrolled.
They Rickroll, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, YouTube.
And I think Google's probably going to switch that URL to being a sign-up page for Google+.
Which is in a way Rickrolling people.
And on that bombshell, can we call it a week?
We can call
Definitely.
it a week.
We love you, Google.
We love you, Google, and all the good things you do, some of them unbeknownst to us and some of them completely understood. But that means you don't have to think like me about those topics.
You don't have to think like me.
You don't have to think like me.
I'm looking at Chihuahua puppies.
And thank you for joining us anyway. Please, on your own, over this next week, think about what it was we talked about, and join us next week so we can talk about it here on the Speaker's Corner.